The Wise Woman of the River. Part 5. Fire in the Water. In the land of tales and thunder truths, the river spoke again. Welcome to Temple Timeless Tales, where memory has breath and legends walk barefoot in our dreams. Last we journeyed, the girl returned. Not as a wanderer, but as a whisper of the river's will. Zina stood unbroken, while silence cracked like old clay. But the silence was never empty. It was a waiting thing, a watching thing. And now, it begins. Not with war cries, but with fire. In the water, the river trembles, like a storm gathering strength. The river of Noma had always known its path. Carved in time, blessed by chants, cradled by the elders. But on this dawn, it trembled. Not from cold, but from knowing. Zina knelt at its edge, bare hands submerged, heart listening. The current no longer kissed, it clung. The wind, usually playful, stood still. And the trees bent toward her, as if to say, brace yourself, for fire had kissed the surface. And the water remembered its pain. The cause beneath the smoke. Far away, beyond the hills and broken stones, she stirred Yole, the seer of Ash Rock, the blind one whose visions cut deeper than truth. She had not slept since the girl's name echoed from the river's throat. She sat now before flames fed by thorn wood and oil, bones rattling around her like bees in a jar. Then she speaks.
The river speaks her name, but I will silence its tongue.
She tied 3 teeth in a thread of snake hair. She dipped it in ink made from crow's tears and hornet ash. She whispered,
let her fire burn her, let her water scold, let her courage rot from within.
And as she flung the charm into flame, a scream rose, not hers, but the fire's. Zina's vision shattered. That afternoon the sun hung crooked, like a blade waiting to fall. Zina napped, but her sleep was not sleep. It was a drowning. She saw Mama Ebel's hands bound in shadow. She saw Obaduma's laughter slicing the sky. She saw her sisters swallowed by flame. And she saw herself, alone, standing on water that burned beneath her feet. The river's voice echoes to her. She watches you, child. She weaves your name into her fire. But you must become water that cannot burn. Zina awoke in tears. But she did not scream. She stood and walked to the river. And the river calmed. The first trial. Word came with the dew. Zina had called the girls again. But this time, not to chant. To be tested. Each stood before the river, one by one. No weapons. No noise. Only silence. And truth. Word had spread like dry leaves in harmattan winds. Zina's river girls were not just playing. They were preparing. One by one, they were called before the elders. Tested. Judged. Some wept. Others bowed. But one, A.O. B. Barely 10, stood tall. You wish to chant the river's secrets. Speak, then. Let the ancestors weigh your voice. A.O. did not flinch. She sang. Not loudly, but deeply. And the ground listened. From the depths of clay and memory, her voice awakened roots. The wind swirled around her, and the fire in the ceremonial pot stilled itself, as if in awe. The elders said nothing. But they knew. A fire had entered the river. Her voice had once been too small to echo in her own heart. Ao, whispering, trembling with bravery.
I am not a leaf. I am a root. I do not float. I grow. Let the wind forget me, but let the earth know my name.
And the river rippled in approval. Old women wept. Not from sadness, but from remembering. For truth had risen again. Yole's curse. Far above, Yole, seer of ash, eater of visions, sat coiled in a spiral of smoke. She saw Zina's name in fire. She saw the girls becoming tides. And she spat.
Let them chant, let them believe. But before the moon bleeds twice, I will break her.
She reached into her pouch of teeth and bone, pulled forth a charm tied with riverweed and silence.
I curse the water she drinks. I curse the songs she sings. May her dreams burn and her courage drown.
She tossed the charm into fire, and the flame turned blue. Zina's dreams fracture. That night, Zina slept beneath the stars. But her dreams were storms. She saw Mama Ebo in chains of smoke. She saw the village crumbling under waves of red. She saw herself, alone, sinking deeper and deeper into black water. The river no longer soothed. It screamed. River voice, broken and many-voiced. Do not fear the storm, child. Be the thunder in its eye. She woke gasping, soaked in sweat. The moon blinked above her, pale and frightened. The warning of fireflies. At dawn, fireflies swarmed the village, not with light, but with fire. Tiny sparks in their wings. They circled Obaduma's tower and vanished. The villagers murmured, trembling. It was said, fireflies only burn when truth hides. Obaduma ordered drums of silence. Obaduma, furious.
If the girl wants war, I will give her legend.
But even his guards avoided his gaze. The river had touched their homes too. And fear has memory. Obaduma's wrath. In his dark throne room, Obaduma crushed kola nuts with bare hands. His hawk feather robe rustled like dry bones. The fireflies had danced around his compound again. The shrine priestess had fallen silent. And the river girls were singing truths too old to bury. Obaduma, with a smooth, low, and deadly voice.
She wants to play river. Let her drown in her own reflection.
He raised his staff and struck the ground. The earth didn't shake, but the guards did. Call Yole again. Tell her the game begins. He ordered his guards. The gathering of the hidden. In a forgotten cave behind the falls were those who still dared to remember. Old drummers, blind singers, widows with sharp words and sharper secrets. Together, they whispered the tale of Noma's first fire, of how the river once rose to protect the innocent, of how silence had always been a knife cutting the throat of truth. Zina met with the elders who no longer sat in councils, the drummers with calloused hands, the widows who had buried too much to fear anymore. They whispered names not heard since Noma's first fire. They drew symbols in dust that the wind refused to erase. This land was not always silent. The river once roared for justice, and those who dared to listen became legend. Zina listened, heart pounding. Then she spoke, not as a girl, but as a wave. Zina, determined, she stood staff in her hand and with a calm and thunderous voice.
Let them bring curses. Let them summon seers. We have the river, and the river never forgets. Let them bring their fire. The river will answer with its memory.
The marking of the water. At midnight, the river lit itself. No torch. No spell. Just light, flowing like tears from the stars. Each girl stepped into it, and the light marked their foreheads with symbols only the old trees could read. The wind sang in grief. The earth hummed in rage. And the river whispered, "They are ready." There are moments when the earth forgets how to breathe, when even the trees lean closer, listening. Noma had reached such a moment. The river paused under a waning moon. The fire whispered on the wind. And the two paths, the old and the new, prepared to collide. Zina's ritual of calling. Zina and the girls at the river's edge at twilight. Candles float in calabashes. Chants rise softly. Tonight was no lesson. Tonight was invocations. By the womb of the river, by the breath of those forgotten, awaken in us decide to stand. Water spiraled upward from the bowl as if answering. Symbols glowed beneath their feet. Zina, the old ways were buried, not broken. I just need to remember how to listen. Yole's shadow appears. She steps into the heart of the forest, her staff burning like a torch of blood. She was no longer hiding. She was summoning. Yole chants with venom in her tongue. From ash I rise, by fear I walk. Show me the girl who dares to write fate. As she walked, the leaves wilted. Frogs fell silent. Even the air trembled. The wise woman to Zina. You cannot run from what you carry, Zina. You are the river, but even rivers must choose their course. I am afraid. Then you are ready. The river stills and reflects fire in its depths. The first clash. At the village square, in the night. Zina and Yole stand facing each other, with Obaduma watching from his throne, surrounded by guards. No blades. No fire. Just words. But words have always carried the deepest wounds. Yole, mocking. You wear symbols you do not understand, girl. You chant river songs as if they are yours to wield. Zina, calm but fierce, responded.
They are mine, not because I took them, but because they chose me.
The ground shivers. The flames on Yole's staff flicker. Zina talking to herself.
She wants me to break in front of them. But I am the daughter of water. And water bends before it drowns you.
The spiritual duel was verbal and elemental. No first, no punches, no contacts, just words and chants. Chanting begins from both sides. The crowd circles. Zina's water rises in spirals. Yole's fire lashes like a serpent. It was not a battle of power. It was a battle of belief, of memory, of who the people trusted to hold their future. One flame burst forward. One water wave roared back. Sparks met steam. And then, silence. Obaduma interrupts. Obaduma stands, voice thunderous, echoing across the square. Obaduma, commanding.
Enough. Let the ancestors decide.
He throws a black feather into the flames, and they turn blue. Obaduma ordered.
In 3 nights, the final rites will be held. If the river still stands by you, then, girl, you may leave.
Gasps fill the air. Zina stares ahead, unblinking. That night, Zina alone on a rooftop, staring at the stars. Her hand clenched around the river stone. Thunder rumbles in the distance. 3 nights to prove the river speaks, or be silenced forever. The wise woman once said, "The river listens longer than men do." Now, it was time to see if it would answer. The fire rises. In the morning, nothing looked different. But everything had changed. The chickens refused to crow. The dogs howled without reason. And above the village, smoke curled from a place no fire had touched. A warning, or a promise. For the fire had entered the water. And the water was preparing to rise. What comes next will not be a battle of blades, but of memory, of truth, of ancient rage. The drums will sound, the storm will break, and in the heart of it, a girl named Zina will burn or become the flame. This is not the end. This is the breath before the flood. Part 6 awaits. The river will rise again. You've just journeyed through Temple Timeless Tales. If this story stirred your spirit, like, share, and subscribe. And remember, some stories don't just speak, they warn. And some girls don't just survive, they rise. See you in part 6. Remember to subscribe and turn on your notifications, so that you won't miss the next episode.
Thank you, dear friend, for sharing this time. More tales await, legends sublime. Like, share, subscribe, stay on this ride. Together we'll journey, hearts open wide. With every story and song we embrace, in the warmth of our voices, find your place. Together we'll laugh, together we'll cry. In the rhythm of life, we'll soar high. With each melody, we'll ignite the night. In the harmony of friendship, everything's right. Moments we cherish, memories to hold. Whispers of dreams and stories untold. Through valleys and mountains, side by side. In the dance of existence, we'll take our stride. Every sunset paints a new shade of gold. In the tapestry of time, our bond unfolds. As the stars align, we'll dream anew. In this canvas of life, it's me and you. The chapters rewrite with laughter and tears, echoes of joy through the passing years. With each heartbeat we sink our souls in the book of our lives. Together we're whole. Interlude Mike Eddy and Farik Hendricks. Let the music play, let the stories flow. From the sea of emotions will continue to grow. With colors of life splashed across the sky. In this journey together, we'll always fly. Together we'll laugh, together we'll cry. In the rhythm of life, we'll soar high. With each melody, we'll ignite the night. In the harmony of friendship, everything's right. Thank you, dear friend, for sharing this time. More tales await, legends sublime. Like, share, subscribe, stay on this ride. Together we'll journey, hearts open wide. More take you, dear friend, for sharing this time. More tales await, legends sublime. Like, share, subscribe, stay on this ride. Together we'll journey, hearts open wide.